I heard the discharge of a pistol behind me. Those were the words of Major Henry Rathbone, the man who sat just feet away from President Abraham Lincoln the moment he was assassinated. In this video, you'll hear a first-hand eyewitness account from inside Lincoln's theater box, as we relive one of history's darkest nights through the eyes of the man who tried to stop it. The day was April 14th, 1865. Robert E. Lee had surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant just days earlier, effectively ending the Civil War. President Lincoln and the First Lady had requested Rathbone and his wife join them at Ford's Theater for a play. The evening was intended to be a relaxing celebration after a long war, but it quickly turned into one of the most shocking tragedies in American history, when the president was shot in the head by a lone gunman and actor who sympathized with the Southern cause. Before we start, quickly hit like and subscribe for more eyewitness history videos and let us know what we should cover next. Now, the words of Henry Rathbone.
On the evening of the 14th of April last, at about 20 minutes past 8 o'clock, I, in company with Miss Harris, left my residence at the corner of 15th and H Streets, and joined the President and Mrs. Lincoln, and went with them in their carriage to Ford's Theater on 10th Street. On reaching the theater, when the presence of the President became known, the actors stopped playing, the band struck up "Hail to the Chief," and the audience rose and received him with vociferous cheering. The party proceeded along in the rear of the dress circle and entered the box that had been set apart for their reception. On entering the box there was a large armchair that was placed nearest the audience, farthest from the stage, which the President took and occupied during the whole of the evening, with one exception, when he got up to put on his coat, and returned and sat down again. When the second scene of the third act was being performed, and while I was intently observing the proceedings upon the stage, with my back toward the door, I heard the discharge of a pistol behind me, and, looking round, saw through the smoke a man between the door and the President. The distance from the door to where the President sat was about 4 feet. At the same time I heard the man shout some word, which I thought was "freedom." I instantly sprang toward him and seized him. He wrested himself from my grasp, and made a violent thrust at my breast with a large knife. I parried the blow by striking it up, and received a wound several inches deep in my left arm. The man rushed to the front of the box, and I endeavored to seize him again, but only caught his clothes as he was leaping over the railing of the box. The clothes, as I believe, were torn in the attempt to hold him. As he went over upon the stage, I cried out, "Stop that man!" I then turned to the President. His position was not changed. His head was slightly bent forward, and his eyes were closed. I saw that he was unconscious, and, supposing him mortally wounded, rushed to the door for the purpose of calling medical aid. On reaching the outer door of the passageway, I found it barred by a heavy piece of plank, one end of which was secured in the wall, and the other resting against the door. It had been so securely fastened that it required considerable force to remove it. This wedge or bar was about 4 feet from the floor. Persons upon the outside were beating against the door for the purpose of entering. I removed the bar, and the door was opened. Several persons who represented themselves as surgeons were allowed to enter. I saw there Colonel Crawford, and requested him to prevent other persons from entering the box. I then returned to the box, and found the surgeons examining the President's person. They had not yet discovered the wound. As soon as it was discovered, it was determined to remove him from the theater. He was carried out, and I then proceeded to assist Mrs. Lincoln, who was intensely excited, to leave the theater. On reaching the head of the stairs, I requested Major Potter to aid me in assisting Mrs. Lincoln across the street to the house where the President was being conveyed. In a review of the transactions, it is my confident belief that the time which elapsed between the discharge of the pistol and the time when the assassin leaped from the box did not exceed 30 seconds. Neither Mrs. Lincoln nor Miss Harris had left their seats.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to hit like and subscribe before you go, and let us know what events of history we should cover next. Check out our history playlist for lots more fascinating eyewitness accounts. I'm Connor with the Motion Visual. See you next time. Peace.